shadow colour with the red, I can now use it to tap edge, maybe a middle of that flower, maybe this one in the centre. Okay, I've got the centre of this one. I'm just putting a little mark on the side, the centre of the flowers with another one. So that's helpful, isn't it? Let's mix a really dark tone to produce this shape. Can you see where the yellow flower crosses in front of the vase, and then you get to see these dark shapes in between? That really does help to show the viewer where the vase ends. I mean, if I draw a line here, just reinforce the line I've got. That's really helpful now, because the ultramarine blue, a bit of the cadmium red, is quite dark now. If you're thinking in terms of tonal values, that's probably one of the darkest tones in the whole composition. Okay, so now I can very carefully touch those areas, and that helps to give you that tone. I should have put a bit more pink here, but that's okay. I'll just put it in the dark tone, and now I can suggest the shape of the daisies. If I'm looking at the picture and breaking it down into tone rather than colour, which then enables me to work out where the darkest parts are and where the lightest parts are. Continue putting little tiny dark marks in between these petal shapes. Again, very much a word that I might overwork it. The centre of the pink flowers are darker, aren't they? So all I'll do is just take a stronger pigment now and just perhaps put some dark tone in the centre, and now I'll soften it. So plenty of clean water, just pulling it out. This is too much for you, by the way, all this. Just, you know, take a couple of flower shapes rather than taking on the whole thing. Okay, that's quite dark in the centre as well, isn't it? This isn't a shadow colour now, it's just a stronger permanent rose that I put in before. Stronger version of that creates a shape like that. And you could actually reflect some of the flower shape as well into a bit of colour. Not too thick, keep everything nice and transparent. Okay. Now I'm just suggesting, but the reason I made the table higher, I'm using my mixing brush to do that, it's not a good brush, is so I could suggest the handle a little more clearly. Let's forget the reflection. Right, just leave that out. Let's keep it nice and simple. Let's not, one of them days, isn't it? Keep it nice and simple. But I'll tell you what I will do. I'm going to run a reflection of the little flower. And let it run, not let it run. It's the colour, isn't it, you want? Okay, following that line. I could have left that as a white shape actually, couldn't I? It would have been quite nice as a daisy against the dark. And here it doesn't matter as there's going to be cauliflowers and blooms and all sorts of things going on, but it kind of makes it more interesting. Here I'm being a little bit more careful with the wash now and just gently painting around.
Just where you are now, looks like a cat looking over the wall.
Looks like a what?
Like a cat looking over
oh
the
yes,
wall.
I can see a cat. It's looking that way.
Oh, two eyes.
Two eyes and the nose there. I'll have what
I can't see it from this
Two cat's eyes.
I can't see it if I'm end up painting over your cat. Okay. This mixture now, I start to deliberately make it a little bit stronger, because you can see that actually does happen. Again, it's useful having a nice brush with a point on it like this. It enables you to...
I've just got one.
Well, actually, the SAA are now doing the Calinity Sable brushes, and they are gorgeous. George has just ordered one, I've got myself one. They're a little bit more expensive than the normal. I mean, the brushes that we buy from, or I buy from the SAA, they're not going to last you a lifetime. I'll go over those leaves. They weren't there anyway. Notice that I put the wash on, but there's always a bead of paint, and I'm always taking from underneath. I very rarely go back into that now. It's always taking the wash from underneath, and that gives you more control. Okay, now I've got the shape here that is the spout of that jug, and I know I've got a bit of tidied up to do because that isn't quite right. What I'll do is I'll bring that shadow. In fact, it's going to need a secondary shadow, I think, that flower shape. And then we can just maybe suggest that reflection. And I'll just soften that, bring it down, may create a cauliflower. Okay. Obviously I'm having to make this bit up because I haven't put the saucer in, but I know for a fact that that is the shape I'm looking for. Comes around here. Again, I've got that nice reflection that we're actually going to miss out. Soften that down. I kind of love areas like that. Just a slightest bit of tone on here now, nothing too major. And I will need some tone along this side here, and that really is just going to be very subtle, and it's just going to suggest the shape of the handle. But just by putting those shadows in, it does help to pull it all together on, and then soften it down. So it's suggesting more than anything. So you're creating the shape of the jug and the handle just by putting that tone into that. No, I would want to park my car over there as well. I'm going to include some more shadows at the top of this now. Obviously the light's coming from the right hand side, so it isn't that obvious on here, but just putting some darker shadow where perhaps this flower shape creates a bit of shadow on the top of that jug. And really there isn't that much more to do with this one. The handle possibly, sorry,